Welcome back. The need for liquidity is a prominent issue as markets hope to attract investors to stimulate growth. So, how are the region's markets addressing investor concerns? And what exactly are these concerns? To discuss this, we're joined now by Dr Jarmo Kotilaine, the Chief Economist at NCB Capital. Welcome to the show today. Thank you very much for coming on.
My pleasure.
Now, as foreign investors continue to pour money into emerging market funds, how is the Middle East faring on the grand scheme of things?
I think the Middle East is, in principle, very well positioned in the sense that the macroeconomic fundamentals are looking very attractive. Economic policy has been very effective. Even the hardest hit regional markets, Dubai and Kuwait, seem to be getting over the worst, and a recovery is on its way. The defaults, restructurings have been dealt with, and confidence is quite clearly coming up. Because of these kinds of problems, the Middle East sort of trailed behind the other emerging markets during much of the past year and more, and as a result, there is actually quite a bit of value in these markets right now.
Okay, right. So in terms of value, I mean, what are we seeing? What can we sort of look out for?
Well, I think that we have attractive opportunities in the petrochemical sector because of the fact that the oil price has bounced back and has stabilized at quite a comfortable level. But there are a number of structural growth stories almost across the board, from services to various types of manufacturing, and even the real estate story in some markets is beginning to gather momentum again.
Now, you're in Abu Dhabi for the capital, the Capital Markets Conference, sorry. How can a homegrown capital market be developed and in order to attract investors?
Yes, well, I think a homegrown capital market has been developed in the region. I mean, the stock exchanges have been in operation for a number of years, some of them for really quite a long time. The debt capital market similarly is taking shape, and there is a real momentum now supporting its further growth. A lot of new corporate issuance, quite an impressive pipeline. But it is true that there's quite a bit of work that still remains to be done. The equity markets are still very much retail-driven markets. What you need to bring in are institutions, and you need to develop those institutions. For instance, the region doesn't have any real sort of private pension funds. Obviously, transparency has become an issue during the crisis. More attention needs to be paid to that. Liquidity, consolidating perhaps some of these regional markets, which is what is happening in the UAE. And finally, if we look at the international investors, short selling is still a deterrent. There aren't proper provisions for short selling.
Right. So in terms of regulations, what do you think is the key sort of focus, the key issue at the moment, and how can it be addressed?
I think the short selling regulations are significant. The region has managed to put them off for a while because there has been significant positive momentum. But I think that this is something that will have to be addressed. They will have to think about how to bring in more foreign investment. I think another thing that they will have to consider, perhaps more seriously than has been the case up to now, is how to use the capital markets to create opportunities for investors to become involved in some of the more sort of most compelling growth stories. The infrastructure story, the SME and diversification story. Still, the opportunities in those areas are quite limited.
Now, there are also expectations that the IPO market will soon take off as well. Tell us a bit about that.
Yes, I think that people are feeling more optimistic. A number of things obviously were suspended during the crisis. I think the area where we're seeing more momentum right now, in fairness, are the sukuk and bond markets. And I think that on the whole, that is looking more encouraging, and clearly those markets are still lagging far behind their relative importance in other parts of the world. But in the IPO markets, I think the mood is improving. There are a couple of issuers that are about to enter the market. I think to really get this going, it would benefit from some public sector support, some partial privatizations. Of course, an encouraging early step in Saudi Arabia this year was the Knowledge Economic City project. More of the same, in a sense, would help to build up the momentum.
Well, that's all we've got time for, I'm afraid. But thank you so much for coming. It's been great chatting with you.
Thank you.
Well, that's it from the business desk. You can contact us at ib@city7tv.com. Up next, Natasha Thomas has more details on the additional flights introduced to Jeddah for Hajj pilgrims.